You're listening to Dude Podcast with JC and Will. Put some pep in that step. Enjoy the show.
Hi, everybody. I'm JC.
And I'm Will.
And I'm Joey from Cliffdiver. And you're listening to Dude.
Yay!
Been a long time coming, Joey. Good to have you on the podcast.
It's a pleasure.
We got a Rockstar. We got our... This is our third Rockstar, I guess. I guess we had a rap star in between.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a Rockstar, a rap star, another Rockstar.
What other rock star do you have? I'm jealous. Who was he? Was he prettier than I am?
I would say
Was he prettier than I am?
But you're the good rock star, Joey. You're our special little rock star.
Okay, thank you, Will. I needed that. Because back in the day, when I tried to get in your Scooter Goose videos, you wouldn't let me.
Oh,
And
you
all
know
I
what?
wanted to do was be one of the funny kids, making little skits. And Matt Moore was like,
I blame Matt.
We got enough.
He's not here
We
to
got
defend
enough
himself.
people.
Since he's not here to defend himself.
We got enough people. No
Yes, blame him.
applications.
Let's blame him. We'll blame him 100%. It's all Matt.
It's all right. That rejection, it helps me. That rejection helps me grow. It helps me become the performer I am today, you know?
Good. He just sits there and he's like, if I was only on those strange pre-YouTube shorts that they had made.
If only I would be on SNL already, baby. But instead, I'm a rock star. Playing Warped
I
Tour.
feel calls from Lauren every other week still.
Yeah.
Say,
You gotta
Lauren,
send him the voicemail. Send him the voicemail.
what about the 50th? Can we get you on the 50th anniversary? Would you do a show? I say, no, Lauren. No.
Well, for those of you who don't
Joey.
know, Scooter Goose, JC and I, we had this friend group that started doing videos. And this was,
Funny
before really
skits.
even the internet was...
When you say videos like that, we would do funny sketch-based comedy, or what we thought were funny bits. But when we say videos, that's what we mean by videos.
I don't think that was up for interpretation. I don't think anybody was like, what kind of scandalous videos were they making? What could that be?
feet
Said
stuff.
videos and not skit videos.
It was all our feet. It was just all our feet. Just
in a kinky way.
I'm glad I didn't make the cut.
What's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm good. Just working 60-hour weeks selling cars. Normal rock star stuff.
Dude, I'm slinging stuff as well, man. Sales is not an awful way to. It's a grind, but it ain't a bad thing at the end of the day. Ain't a bad way to make a paycheck. It's fun. You get to talk to people.
You're just talking to people, and I like to make people laugh and help what is a stressful situation, which is major purchasing vehicles, especially right now. But to take that stress out and say, you know what, it's gonna be all right.
We were just talking about this before we started filming. We were introduced to you, myself and Will, who'd only known each other for a year, in 6th grade. That was when you made your debut at Metro Christian Academy. You were at Jinx before, right? Jinx?
I was. Yeah, I went to Jinx, and I was bullied out of Jinx. Older boys like to pull me in the classrooms and like literally jump me, like kicking me in the face and stuff. And my mom would go up to school all the time, Becky, and she'd be like, hey, my kid's getting like beaten every day at school. And the principal's like, boys will be boys, Rebecca. What am I supposed to do? Boys will be boys. And she's like, it's a little different though, because they're hunting him like an animal through the hallways and pulling him into empty classrooms and beating him. And they were like, so what? At my church, Zach Jarrett brought DB, rest in peace, one of the greatest dudes ever, brought him to church one day, and DB was like, you should come to Metro. I was like, I don't want to come to Metro.
Really? I didn't
You say Zach Jarrett? You knew Zach Jarrett first?
Yeah, at church. Yeah, we went to church our whole lives.
I thought you were more friends with Nick Johnson.
Yeah, it's still one of my besties. We were texting the other day.
I have a question for you before we move on to another subject. You mentioned we talked about our old pal Nick Johnson, right? And you're still
Yes.
buddies with him.
Yeah.
Is it true that at one point he was a rapper under the name Nellis J?
Yes.
Or was that a rumor?
No, that's true.
Did Nellis J have some sick beats, or was it,
He did have some sick. He had some sick beats. I remember one of his songs was like, something about like sitting on the porch, sipping lemonade, just like Grandma used to make. That's the only one. That's the only line I remember. But yeah, it went hard.
I love that name.
Nellis J, dude.
Do you think Nellis J could make an appearance on the Cliffdiver album? Have you considered that?
We can't afford his feature price. It's out of our range, to be honest. We're a small label.
Enterprise. Small enterprise.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
We're
Understood.
we're about to be an independent band, so it's just on the cards at the moment.
I get it.
We'll see though. I hope, I pray one day. Yeah.
I just always heard about the Nellis J thing, and I'm like, I feel like somebody's making this up, but
It's true.
A great name. It is it was because I remember Will approached me and he goes, "Hey Will, do you remember Nick?" And I said, "Yes, of course." So he says, "Do you realize he may be a secret rapper under the name of Nellis J?" And I said, "Well, that's one of the best things I've heard. I don't know if that's true or not true, but that's one of the best things I've heard in a long time."
yeah. So people who don't know Nick Johnson, when we graduated college, he just kind of more or less disappeared, or at least I haven't seen him in forever. And I just started hearing these rumors like, "Hey, Nick, he's a rapper now." I'm like, what? Like, where's the music? And there was no music, but apparently he was a rapper.
Oh, well, there was no Spotify back then, so there was no real way to just upload your music.
So do you think? So he was just writing music by himself. He named himself, but he didn't record any of it.
Oh, he recorded it. The music exists.
Do you have it?
I don't have it. You'll have to talk to Nick about that. I'll give you his number.
This is like a mystery. I love it.
It's like a Scooby-Doo mystery. I'm just the mystery of Nellis J.
This is like, it's becoming like a serial podcast. We didn't even realize it. We're like, and that's when Will became interested in the music
Of Nellis J.
Nellis J. Okay, so you come to Metro, and obviously we get the pleasure of meeting Joey Duffy and your other. I would also say like the you don't just meet Joey Duffy in Metro, you meet the Duffys, right? You have the pleasure of the boys, and of course, sweet Ray and sweet Becky. So I mean, I just feel like I have very strong memories and relationships with all members of the Duffy family, and very distinctive memories with all the members of the Duffy family. I think we all do, just because I think you guys all have such a fun, strong personality.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And the other two are doctors, so
I was gonna say, I was gonna say when you talked about the Duffys, I would argue, and JC, you can jump in here. I think the Duffy family might be the smartest family to come out of Metro. Would you agree with that? You come from smart people, Joey.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're smart. They're definitely super
the
smart.
Coggins family didn't exist.
Oh, the Coggins. You got probably the Coggins.
Well, I don't know. There were three of us, so I think numbers alone, we might have them. But if we're going like pure athleticism and intelligence,
well, yeah, I mean, the Coggins boys were just like the All-American boys, but
like literally
yeah,
all
like
Americans.
literally, yeah, for sure.
You guys really were doing a great job representing the Irish. I mean, if you think about it, like, good job, Irish Oklahoman, just strong Irish Oklahoman roots right there.
Well, until my 20s, where I gave in to most of the Irish stereotypes for about a decade and a half. But that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Like the Irish, we repress that. We
repress it,
we
push
don't
it
talk
aside,
about it.
and move along. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
All fine.
It's fine. It'll come out in a wedding at some point when you're just
a couple weddings. Let's it's fine.
It's all good. So we had the pleasure of meeting a family. Obviously, I feel like we were in a few classes. Although, you know what's really weird, Joey? I think about it. No, I know why. Because you were smart, dang it. That's why you weren't in any of me and Will's classes. Because I was thinking in my head, I'm like, was Joey actually in any of my classes? I think like maybe one or two. I mean, really, me and you hung out via theater. That was pretty much it. And then everything else, you were so much smarter than me or Will. We couldn't even sniff the classes you were in.
Here's the frustrating part, and I hope you take this the right way, but I would say of all the kids in your family, you might be considered the black sheep of sorts, and you were still a thousand times smarter and more like better of a student than JC and I will ever have been.
Ever.
I wish I would have done my homework ever. I truly, there's always the what if I would have actually tried. But now I have a 12-year-old that I can test these very theories on because he's so much like me. Except he's smarter. He just won't get off his phone. So I'm always like, come on, man, you have to do this the right way. Trust me. We want to see what could happen.
But no, it was funny though. I just was thinking about that. I'm like, I don't really remember too many actual classroom experiences or memories with you. It was all theater for me.
Yeah.
And
improv.
And yeah, I was about to say, you guys did improv together.
So we transitioned from improv where me and Joey spent a lot of time together. And then, high school theater. And I was thinking about this because I truly think if you've done any level of high school theater, the stories and just the funny stuff that comes out, is just, you always have you've had so many moments. I've had so many moments of like, how did we pull that off? How was this a production? How did this not fail? But is there like a couple stories that like stick in your mind of like, that was absolutely hilarious? I know one of my favorite stories that involves you as it relates to theater. And in
The Wizard of Oz?
It was The Wizard of Oz. That's one of my favorites.
Was it the dressing room thing?
It was, well, mine was The People of Oz, and I'll tell this story.
Yeah, please.
So we had these, one of the challenges at Metro for the plays, the theaters, or the theatrical musical was, oftentimes from a casting perspective, it was such a small school, you could fill out the rest of your cast, be it like little small parts with middle schoolers and elementary schoolers. And a lot of times, it worked. Like it worked, because
like in The King and I was one of the King's children in sixth grade. In The King and I.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
I remember.
where we both started with Mr. Gary Bruce, who was a rock star. Also, seriously, the Bobby Knight of directing. That guy was awesome.
Bobby Knight, because he would throw chairs.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't feed him.
Literally throw chairs. Yeah. One act. He ripping pages out of the script, going, "It's too long. Yeah, we'll get rid of this page. We'll get rid of it." Insane, man. But truly an artist.
Well, just a little context even of that, right? To tell that story. So me and Joey were our freshman year. We were in the Diary of Anne Frank, and so one of my great memory was there. So you had this, like, you'd have like a 2-hour play, right, that you would normally perform for the school and that you would practice the entirety of like fall for performing purposes. But then you could actually kind of have like there was like a competition element to plays, and you could do something called one act, where you would actually go and take your production and go put it up against other high schools from the state. But what you'd have to do is the parameters would be like an hour or 45 minutes, or it had to be within a certain
45 minutes, I think, is the max.
So basically you had to condense the Diary of Anne Frank into 45 minutes, which it currently was not in that format. So we were practicing with the Bobby Knight of directing, Gary Bruce, who at this time in multiple occasions quit throughout the production, through chairs, for pieces of wood that would fly through, like when the like curtain was closed and things were not going right, you would just hear noises on the other side of the curtain, and you were like, that's not good. That sounds like something's breaking. Or again, you would just see a piece of wood fly through the curtain, and and it was kind of incredible. People just kind of kept pushing on. It was really kind of interesting, but he was brilliant. The guy was a great,
actually brilliant. Yeah, West Side Story was incredible. I remember that to this day. His West Side Story was incredible. Made me want to do theater. Munchkins, sorry, we got distracted.
So anyway, we'll get to that, and then we'll get to the Munchkins. So the memory with Gary was, again, this is Diary of Anne Frank. It's a very somber, very serious play. And we have timed ourselves that he had gone in and meticulously and cut down this play, and we thought we were close. We were not. We were like still 30 minutes over time. And so we just hear rip. He is literally just ripping pages out of the script, and we are having to, in real time, try to figure out what pages he has ripped out.
Yeah, what dialogue's gone.
It was like, and he was screaming at us. It was incredible. It was like a movie scene to try to and it ended up working, and we still did pretty well, I believe. But
I think we did really well.
But yeah. Anyway, so one of my favorite memories with Joey in theater was with the musicals. It was a little different because the musicals involved oftentimes elementary school, middle schoolers, whatever. It was The Wizard of Oz. Joey was the Wizard of Oz. And the problem was backstage, you would have these sort of super moms, these Karens almost.
This is the one I thought I was hoping you were about to tell.
That would be backstage, and they would, it kind of felt like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, there's that famous clip, and probably Joey, you've experienced it, where it's like a Woodstock or it's some big concert, and this guy's trying to get on stage, and he's getting pushed by the security, and it's like, don't go on, you can't go on, and he has to finally be like, I'm in the band, dude, I'm going on stage. That happened to me and Joey and everybody all the time, because these moms wouldn't let you onto the stage, or I guess
open the door so there was not noise and light coming in.
They were told by the directors, hey, please do this so that we don't have kids walking on the stage. Listen, that was your job, and they took it to the 100th degree and were protecting this with their life. You know what I mean? It was incredible. So anyway, the problem was Joey has this scene where he is literally, it's literally the height of the play, and he is making this declaration to the Munchkins and all the citizens of Oz. And it's just Joey, and he's supposed to have probably about 25 to 40 other kids on stage, and something has gone wrong with the communication, and the moms did not let the kids on stage, and it's just Joey saying, citizens of Oz. There's no one on stage. It's just him. And I think he had to just kind of I think you had a weird moment where you're like, if there were citizens, I don't I think you
yeah. Well, and then I yelled at that mom, and I go, those Munchkins are supposed to be on stage, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you can't talk to me this way, and go, I'm the effing Wizard of Oz. But just let her have it. I was like, and when I say I need Munchkins on that stage, you let my Munchkins on that stage.
Just Daniel Day-Lewis. You're
just fully immersed in the role. One of my other favorite memories was when we did The Outsiders, and I die on stage, right? I'm Johnny, the penultimate moment, stay gold, pony boy, and I die, and then an actress who will not be named touches the bed wrong, and the whole bed collapses while I'm on stage. I just had this awesome death scene, and it just goes boom. And I just remember being like, oh my God, my big moment. That was it. The scout was in the audience. I was going to Juilliard.
I don't know if I ever told you this. My grandma cried. My grandma was so moved by your performance that she cried.
That means a lot to me. No,
Yeah.
it truly does.
My grandma, she
that play
really
was so
loved it.
much fun. It was so much fun.
It was one of my favorite things I was ever a part of too. I loved that play.
The other great memory is all the NSYNCs. We would always dance before every performance. We get all the guys into the dressing room. We do Bye Bye Bye. It's Gonna Be May. And like, it was a tradition. And I remember at the Wizard of Oz, that last performance, like, we brought in the boombox, me and you, and like, we were so emotional and we're like crying while we're doing the Bye 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 dance. And it was just a really cool thing.
So I want to talk about we get through high school. I want to talk about Cliffdiver, sort of the origin story of Cliffdiver, and how did this band come to fruition, and just talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So back in, I think it was 2015. Well, basically, I joined the Army. Right. I'm 23. Joined the Army. I'm like bored with college. Everybody in our grades graduated college, and I'm still a sophomore because I, messed around and failed out of Arkansas, that kind of stuff. And so I'm like feeling like I'm a burnout. I joined the Army to die or whatever, no big deal. It didn't happen. It worked out. It's fine. But when I got out of the Army, I had like no real skills because I was in the artillery. I was a raging alcoholic because of some Army stuff. It's just, you get it immediately. You get arthritis.
Where were you based out of?
I was in Lawton the entire time. I joined the Army to get out of Oklahoma because I was so bored in Weatherford, Oklahoma, at southwestern Oklahoma State, where I had a 4.0 when I joined the Army. Anyway, so dumb. But so I joined to get out of boring Oklahoma, do it all in Lawton. But so I get out of the Army. I have no real skills. I'm way behind, as I feel, like everybody else. So I'm bouncing around job to job. And then I finally, I win tickets to go see Mumford & Sons from the Edge. I tweeted a question and won tickets. And while I was there, I was talking to the promotions director, and I was like, you know what? If you ever need like an intern or something, just let me know. Because I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Like, what is it for me to do? I have a child. I'm lost in the sauce. I got all this trauma I haven't dealt with. I'm not a great employee. I'm like, I just need something. And so he gives me a job at the Edge. So I'm working the radio. I'm going to all these shows. I'm going to all these local shows because I didn't really go out to go to music. I used to just go out and go to the bar. And then I started going to a bar called the Yeti downtown Tulsa. No longer is there, thank God. It was an amazing place, but we all would have died. More on that later. But I'm going here, I'm watching all these local shows, and I'm getting mad at the Edge that they're not supporting local music because it's blowing my mind. Every weekend, there's these incredible bands in Tulsa. And so I start this podcast called The Sound of Tulsa, and all I do is interview local bands. And I'm telling the stories of all these different genres. I'm doing all genres, and I'm going to shows like 5-6 times a week. I'm just out constantly meeting venue owners, meeting bands, meeting all these musicians. And the entire time I'm doing this, secretly, I'm wishing that I was doing it because, I had a band in high school, Forgotten Tomorrow, me and Gary and Daniel Pritt and Connor Johnson. Was a great band. Well, Forbidden Rector, no big deal. But it always was still there. Like the want to perform and sing and create. And I wanted to be that guy. And I could put on a show, and I karaoke. That's what I would do. I would karaoke all the time because I could perform and work on that showmanship. And then so I meet this guy, Matt. He's playing in a band called Much Less, punk rock band in town. They're looking for a singer. So I'm like, you know what? I'll audition. I'm just going to do it. I've always wanted to do it. Why not just chase this weird dream? I'm like 30 at this point and, survived all this stuff. I'd rebuilt myself a bit. I'm like, I'm just going to go for my dream. And so I end up auditioning, and it doesn't work out for the first band. He's like, but I have this other band. Maybe you'd be interested. We just have music. We want a vocalist. And so he said, it's called Cliffdiver. We have saxophone. It's like emo with saxophone. I was like, oh, very interesting. So I audition. The guitarist does not like me, does not want me in the band. I find this out much later, obviously, like years later. But they convinced him to let me in the band because I knew everyone. Because I just won an award for this podcast, won an Urban Tulsa, like Best of Tulsa podcast award. So like I knew everyone in the music scene at this point. And they're like, if we let him in, he can get people to our shows. And so it ended up being, originally they were just, using my platform to get shows, but I was using them to be in a band. So it worked out, both ways. And so we started playing shows. Our first shows at a college poetry class, like reading after party, just at somebody's house, right? And so there's all these like 20-year-old kids at this house by TU, and it's 31-year-old me and my band. We set up in the living room. We only have 5 songs. We play 5 songs. They're going crazy. They want an encore, and we're like, we don't have any more songs. We'll just play the last one again then. And we said, all right. And so like it started off this crazy, it was this house party, this underground vibe. And then we just carried that with us. And I think that's one reason we were able to find that kind of success in Tulsa, was that we were this kind of underground thing. Like we knew all these people, we were all these musicians from all these different bands. And, then I found it as a way to like work through a lot of the things that I'd gone through in the past. And like, when I was 24, right before I found out I was having a kid, I'm in the Army, and I'm like brutally sexually assaulted by another soldier, like at gunpoint for like hours, and like didn't tell anybody about it, never talked about it because I was in the Army and I was 24, and it's 2011, and you don't talk about it, and and so you push it down, and you hide it, and you bury it, and then you find out you're having a kid, and you don't even know if you want to be here. Like I'm sitting outside this guy's house with a pistol, like nightly, saying I'm going to go kill him and I'm going to kill myself. And, I don't know how to be a dad. I don't know if I want to be a dad. I don't want to be alive. And all these things just compounded and pressure because, I always wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to be a good dad. And, one night, I tried to shoot myself and couldn't figure out the safety on the gun. I was too drunk. Thank God, but all of that stuff had been building and festering. And so then I began to write about it for the first time, because I hadn't really talked about it. All I'd done is drank about it and tried to forget it and try and push back those feelings of shame and those feelings of, not being good enough and feeling left behind, because, in high school and college, I didn't know I was bipolar. I just thought I was crazy. I didn't know that I had all these things. I didn't know that I was undiagnosed with a serious mental illness. I just thought, people just thought I was crazy because, all these things that were symptoms, but you didn't know at the time. And as I began to write about it, and I began to really be honest about it and to talk about it publicly on Facebook, just be like, here's some things about me you may not know. I struggle with this. And through that kind of vulnerability, I saw, a need for that in this culture that we have, which is so hustle based and so individualistic and so mentally broken, but in a way that we don't talk about, because it gets us in the silence. It gets us when we're alone with our thoughts, and that's just escalated as a society. We can just sit here and not have a thought for 6-7 hours. I'm guilty of it all the time, but I had found that as I began to be honest in my writing and in my songs about having substance abuse problems, about maybe being an alcoholic, about being mentally ill, about suicide, all these things, it began to resonate with people who needed to feel that things could be okay. And we began writing songs about that. And, we have this famous song that says, I know I'm good enough for anybody, finally myself. And at the time I didn't believe it, but I wanted to believe it. But that song, those lines have impacted people's lives in ways that, I couldn't have ever imagined at the time when I was in rehab or I'm inpatient and I'm, gun in the mouth, and I'm saying the world would be better off without me. My son would be better off without me, and all these things. And as we finished our first album, and, we started to grow, and right before the pandemic, we were about to take this, these big world tours and play South by Southwest, and then pandemic happened, everything stopped, everything slowed down, everything went away in music, everything. And we'd worked so hard to even become anything, and we were still nothing, but I was living the dream. We were following this passion. And then the pandemic ended up being a great thing because we added Brianna, our other singer, which elevated the band, made me a better performer, singer, writer, everything. And so after we record our first album, I'm writing all these songs about being an alcoholic. I'm still drinking every day in the studio. I'm even commenting on it. I'm saying, how many more songs can I write about being an alcoholic before I need to stop drinking? And my other guitarist was like, probably not a lot. Probably, we're probably reaching the end of how many you should write before maybe we address it. And it was like 2 weeks after we got home from the studio, I had gone out drinking for one of my friend's birthday parties, and I ended up crashing my car in an industrial park, got trapped in a fenced-in area. I don't know how. I came to in my car in this fenced-in area off of what's the street in Sand Springs, that main street? Anyway, I was just in an industrial park, and I ended up crashing my car into this gate a bunch of times to get out because I was like, I'm trapped. I just blew everything. I'm about to get a DUI. I'm about to mess everything up again, and I don't have another rebuild. I screwed it all up. For what? And I get home, my car's totaled. The next night, I'm supposed to DJ one of my dearest friend's weddings. And I was so excited to DJ my dear friend Taylor Cox's wedding because I was in this great space. When I accepted it, I'm like, man, I'm, making an album. I'm touring. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm finally I'm good enough now, and I can show people that I'm good enough now. I'm not this loser, skeezy kid who just hangs out with Westfall and is just kind of brought places, and people are like, oh, which Duffy is it going to be tonight, And so that night, I'm so racked with guilt from crashing my car the night before, and it's an open bar, and that's my worst enemy. And so I'm slowly taking shots, and then by the end of the night, I am blackout drunk, DJing this wedding.
I was there at the wedding, so I do remember this.
It went off the rails. My bassist had to eventually come and actually DJ the wedding while I sat on the stage and partied with everybody after I was paid a good amount of money to DJ that wedding. But that night, I went across the street to Rabbit Hole, did a bunch of drugs with a bunch of my old drug friends, talked about killing myself all night, unbeknownst to me at the time. Wake up, have the worst hangover of my life, and say, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm exhausted. We're putting out this album about getting better, and I'm not getting better. I'm getting worse. And that very night, one of my friends who I was doing drugs with the night before called me, and he's like, hey man, you have to get better. You tell me that I can get better, and you tell all these people that things can get better if you just love yourself and you hate yourself. And I need you to believe it because I believe it because you believe it. And if you don't believe it, then I don't know what I can believe. And that, for some reason, when your friend who's been doing all this stupid stuff is looking at you and saying, you're messing up, this is enough, you go, okay. And that was 4 years ago in June. And I've then used the band ever since to be a platform for recovery and for mental health and for that things can get better. You just have to talk about them, and you just have to experience it and hold it, but then let it go. And you have to forgive yourself. And that's what I've spent the last 4 years. I've had the honor to go all over the United States. We've driven probably 100,000 miles, just in in Canada. We're international, baby. But telling people that things can get better like that, and meeting all my heroes and all my favorite bands from high school, playing with them while we're singing songs about hope. And it's been the second greatest joy of my life.
Yeah.
You can't compete with my number one joy, which is being a dad. There's nothing that compares to that. You fellas know all about that. And as they get older, now we can look each other in the eyes while we're playing Madden together, playing Call of Duty, talk about existentialism and all this kind of stuff. It's the greatest. But
it's awesome.
Being a rock star is pretty cool too. I mean, it's a solid number 2 if you had to rank them.
That's pretty awesome, man. So what's your, I guess, you've gotten to do some pretty cool things, being a rock star. And I mean, I would say if for whatever reason, you don't know Cliffdiver, what I would say is your music videos are so much fun. Like YouTube, just YouTube Cliffdiver and just see some of the music videos. And I think you guys have always done such funny. They're smart and they're funny, and they're also there's such a nostalgia to the music that you guys make, because it is that early aughts kind of punk mixed with I don't even know, yacht rock. I don't even know what it is, but it's just
Well
this
said.
nostalgia that kind of goes over you. And I'll be completely honest with you, Joey. I remember hearing one of your tracks and being like, I know that's Joey Duffy, and I am shocked I love this as much as I do. Because I really was like, I love it. I love you figured out a way to use your voice. And you always had a good voice. I'm not saying you didn't have a good voice, but like hearing your voice for years and years, and to hear it, like, it's pretty cool when you hear somebody using their talent in a way that you're like, I think that's the best utilization of his voice possible. As far as like, I mean, dude, you have that screaming superpower that, like, I don't think that, like, I fully need. Like, I've always envied that whole, like, that yelling power that you can, that I don't even. It's amazing when it's done properly, and to be able to do that and then actually go back and sing real vocals, and hit notes and not do vocal fry is very impressive. But man, YouTube Cliffdiver, if you don't know who these guys are, I mean, hundreds of thousands of views and downloads. I mean, you guys are a pretty dang successful band. And I guess what's your oh my god moment, like, band wise to this point?
Okay, there's a couple of them. When we signed to Side One Dummy Records, our record label, was huge for me, because when I turned 16 and I was able to drive, and I went to Hot Topic and could buy my own music, not at Mardell's. Shout out evangelical 90s in Oklahoma.
Bible man.
Yeah, exactly. And I bought the Vans Warped Tour 2002 compilation that had all these bands that are now my favorite bands. The label that put out that album was Side One Dummy Records. And I remember thinking, I want to be a Side One band, thinking that all these bands were on Side One Dummy. And fast forward literally 20 years, we signed to Side One Dummy Records, and now we're playing Warped Tour this summer as it comes back for the first time. We get to play 2 of the 3 dates, and it's mind blowing. It's like
incredible.
We have full circle moments like that, that just blow my mind, where I'm like, what the heck? Like, how is this possible? Like, another one of those moments was we played Riot Fest for the first time, 2022, and Taking Back Sunday's playing, and I'm side stage at Taking Back Sunday, and there's 60,000 people singing Taking Back Sunday, and I'm like looking over John's shoulder, looking over Adam's shoulder, and just going, how am I allowed to be here?
Yeah.
Like, how am I allowed? And not just that I was there.
That's cool.
I was there because my band was playing there. Like, moments like that are still mind-blowing to me. Like, I got to meet some of these, like, all my favorite artists as a peer, but also mainly as a fanboy, because I can't hold it in. I'm not cool. I try really hard, but I'm not. Like, I met Andrew McMahon from Jack's Mannequin, Something Corporate, when we played Sad Summer together, and I like cry and tell him how much Dark Blue means to me and how it's always been one of my favorite songs. And so it's just me. We're in Dallas at the Toyota Arena or amphitheater, and it's there's thousands of people out there, and I'm side stage, and it's just me. It's just me, and he's playing piano. And I'm like trying to hide. I don't want him to see how nuts I'm going as he's playing, all these songs, all my favorite songs from my entire life. And then he starts, he goes, and this song goes out to my new friend Joey, and looks me dead in the eyes and starts playing Dark Blue. And then, like, he's singing it right to me. He runs off stage when he's done and, like, scoops me up in a bear hug and was like, thank you for singing with me. And I'm just like, whatever, no big deal. My 37th birthday last summer, I'm on tour with The Early November, one of my favorite bands ever, which I'm, playing them songs I wrote in high school. And with Hello Goodbye, another one of my favorite bands. Hello Goodbye, on my birthday, gives me a cake. Like, the lead singer buys me a cake, has me come on stage, and then sings me my favorite Hello Goodbye song while I'm eating cake with my hands in front of like 3,000 people. And it was one of the most surreal moments of my life. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what I do now. Like, this is what I do. The lead singer of one of my favorite bands is just like, hey, here's your cake, man. Happy birthday. I love you. Here's your song. And just stuff like that. It's amazing.
I'll tell you something that I think's cool. I've seen on your Instagram a couple times. You talk about being a dad. I mean, it is the best thing that you'll ever do. I've seen a couple cool moments where you bring your kid on stage and you get to sing with them. That's got to be pretty cool.
There's out of all my moments in music, the 4 times he's come on stage with me are my favorites, like bar none. The first time was like we were opening for a band called Hot Mulligan, which if you haven't listened to, like the biggest pop punk band in the world right now. They're massive. They're so good. And so he comes out on stage. We're at the Tower Theater, 700 people, no stage fright. Rocks out, kills it. It's amazing, and then does it at Kane's Ballroom when, in front of 1,000 people, just kills it, ready to go. And I'm like, were you nervous? And he's like, no, man, that's what we do. It's the family business. And I'm just like,
that's cool.
Is Kane's pretty special to be there and be a Tolson? Is that something that's pretty like get you?
We've got to play Kane's 3 times. The first time we got to play was our first show after the pandemic, our first show at Bree, and it was sold out. And I don't remember a lot of that show. I remember that we really, really screwed up one of our new singles that we played for the first time. Like, really, really messed it up, like, really badly. I still remember that moment, and I just remember seeing a flat, like, sea of heads. But I don't remember, like, any moment from it. But, like, our last time we played there, over this last break, and Dallas came out, and we're standing there, and there's 1,000-something people at Kane's Ballroom where everyone has played, and I'm getting to share my story and share this journey of hope as my son looks on and sees his dad like in front of all these people who are going nutty and singing all these songs, and like I get to show him that things get better. And so like those 2 together, I get to show him that you can chase your dreams. Sometimes it's going to take a while, and sometimes life's going to kick your teeth out of your head first, and you might want to give up, but you can't give up because, I mean, what the heck, man? Like, my life is great now. Not great, but, I'm still crazy. But
you're here, baby. You're here.
Right.
You're alive.
And thriving. So
one of the thing I love about your story, that's that great story you told about, before you went to DJ at Taylor's wedding, is that's essentially rock bottom. I mean, you hit rock bottom. Talking about hitting rock bottom so many times, and I think the person who needs to tell that story and that message needs to be someone who's probably hit rock bottom 1,000 times. You know what I mean? And it's cool that I don't know. I love that you spread that message and you're someone who's been there. And it's like, no, it's like I've been there and I can tell the story, and I'm telling you, like, hang on to hope. I love that. That's cool.
It's kind of where Cliffdiver name, what it means to me is like a quote from Catcher in the Rye, right? At the end of the book, Holden Caulfield says, if I could be anything, I would spend my days stopping kids from going over the cliff, right? I would be the catcher in the rye who stands there and tells these kids there's nothing but destruction after there. So like the idea is I have jumped off the cliffs. I am the cliff diver. I have crashed upon the rocks, and I can tell you all that's down there is more pain. I've done it. Trust me, whatever you're going through, like I understand. I've been there. I've crashed out. I've crashed out harder. I've crashed out publicly. I've, been kicked out of weddings, whatever. I've done it. Trust me.
Who doesn't?
Trust me, but things can get better. You have to be able to re-own your narrative. And that's a hard thing, especially when you struggled with substance abuse for so long, is that you feel like you're always playing catch up, and you're always like this version of a rumor of a version of you. And that, especially with Metro having been such a close community, when someone spins out, everyone knows. Everyone knows all your business. Everyone knows everything, you know. And it's like,
and we've talked about this publicly. And again, I think we all look back. I don't know. I look back, and you only live one life, so you don't necessarily know, if you'd been somewhere else, what it would be, or any of those sorts of things. But I loved my time at Metro, and I really appreciated, everybody that was in my life, and I think it was so important for shaping me. But me and Will have had very honest conversations as far as, there was an additional added pressure at Metro that I think a lot of high school kids and middle school kids never had. Like I think we were in a bubble that was under a microscope in a way that a lot of people were just kind of allowed to be kids. I only say that, like, meeting my wife and talking to her high school friends and being like, you guys had a wildly different experience than I had, and I think that might be more common than what we had, which made, to your point, if things went awry or a mistake, that maybe in other high schools would be kind of written off as, well, they're just being kids. It was kind of just magnified into, well, their life is over, or, so I feel for you in that way, because I get that. And I mean, I think we all experienced some form of that going there. But I can understand that for sure and empathize with that.
It's good. It's what it made me who I am. And one thing I love in sobriety, in recovery, I don't say sobriety, in recovery, is apologizing. I love running into people that I was a jerk to, or that hey man, 10, 15 years ago, last time I saw you, I was a jerk, and I'm so sorry. I was going through some stuff that had nothing to do with you, it had everything to do with me. And I love that. I love being able to take back those pieces of and shut down those voices that haunt you for,
Yeah.
The only thing you have in sobriety and recovery is time to think about the past, which you always try not to. You try to, well, let's start the cycle over again so I don't have to ride this shame, guilt roller coaster again. Let's make all new decisions, so then those ones don't seem so bad anymore, whatever. And so now you just get to sit there and go, oh, I could have handled that better. I probably should have handled that differently. My bad. I'm so sorry.
Well, probably because you have that clarity. You have that clarity, exactly, that you didn't necessarily have before, and you couldn't have that sort of, hindsight 2020, because there was so much going on that kind of blinded you to those sorts of things.
Well, and to be honest, I didn't think I'd be here to suffer any of the consequences. I thought I'd be dead. I didn't ever expect to get to be 30. And now I'm it's all turning gray through here. And
I have a question, and I think you have to tell the story about if you feel comfortable, the incident when you were touring and you guys having almost lost your guitarist, or, I mean, it's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. So
yeah, so we're going to Vegas, 2023, just about almost 2 years ago, a little under 2 years ago, and we just gotten our new van. Like, we stepped it up. We're like finally making these moves that we'd always dreamed about. We have this nice new van, captain's chairs, television. We're driving to Vegas to play this show with Bowling for Soup.
Big band at this point. You're like, we're a big band. We're doing this show in Vegas. What was the show in Vegas? What was the show?
It was Punk Rock Bowling, which is a giant festival they do every year. That, like, Bowling for Soup and a bunch of people put on through the Punk Rock Museum up there, which we actually have.
You cut out there a minute. Would you say Bowling for Soup is the whole?
Yeah,
that's their
the Punk Rock Museum that's in Las Vegas. They helped put it on, which we're actually in. We have an exhibit in the actual Punk Rock Museum in Las Vegas. We have a Cliffdiver.
It's incredible
exhibit thing, which makes no sense. But so we're driving, we're playing Madden, and I remember turning to my guitarist Matt, one of my best friends, and saying, "Man, life is good, dude. Like life is good. We're on our way to go to Zion." Tyler's our bass player is behind the wheel, and he's the king of bits, right? He's always doing bits. He is always on, and he's always doing bits, which is hilarious most of the time. And so he's about to take like this supplement from our drummer, and they're going back and forth. And then there's this loud pop, and it looked like the supplement jar had like exploded. And then he's like slumped over, and I think he's doing a bit, right? I think he's pretending to be asleep. And then like we notice he's not moving, and Elliot's shakes him, and he's unconscious.
Is the car moving?
Yeah, we're going 80, dude. We're going down the highway. He's
driving though, right?
Yeah, we're driving. Yeah, and he's knocked unconscious, and so there's a good 20 seconds. We're still going straight, but we're in a van. We got 6,000 pounds behind us in this trailer, and so like you come to terms. Like there's a moment where I remember looking out the front of the window and going, "This is it. Like this is it. I've had a good life, but man, I wish I could see my kid one more time. I just wish I could give Dallas one more hug. But this is it." And Matt, our guitarist, was able to actually get from the seat behind him and get in between him and the steering wheel and steer us to the side, the shoulder of the road, and park the car without us, crashing or anything like that. So we jump out of the car, and then we look back at Tyler, and then we notice that his shirt's just soaked in blood, just like coming out of his neck, just like tons of blood. And so we're trying to figure out what's going on. And
what is your initial thought? Like, what did he get shot? What did you think? Yeah,
originally we thought he got shot because the pop and the way the window, the only damage we had to the car was like this break in the window about like this. And so it looked like it was a bullet or something. And so we're calling 911. We're like, our friend's just been shot. Like, I don't know what's going on, but our friend was just shot. We need ambulances here. And so I have some first aid training. I'm telling them what to do because I'm calling 911, and our saxophone is like, "Hey, there's some in the side of his neck here. Should I pull it out?" And I said, "No, put pressure on it, and we'll figure that out, when the ambulance gets here." And
is he out, by the way? He's not showing any signs of life, right?
We thought he was dead. We keep the thing in his neck, but at first we thought he was just like dead. We thought he was dead because he wasn't making any sounds. And I get out my phone, and we're playing Manchester Orchestra song called "You Are the Sunshine," the sunshine, and it's like his favorite song. We're saying goodbye, and then he breathes. He just goes, "Hello," and we all go, oh my god, he's alive. And so then we're back to first aid, and he's got this chain link that about this big, just buried in the side of his neck. And I'll send you pictures in our group chat. And it had punctured his carotid artery, and it had lacerated his jugular. He lost 3 liters of blood, but the ambulance somehow was able to get there in like 8 minutes. And so by the time he's out, he's talking, and all this kind of stuff. It ends up that by us not pulling out that chain link, what happened was it created, like, started scabbing around it or whatever, clotting. It clotted at both those ends, and so by it staying in there and clotting, it stopped him from bleeding out. He would have bled out in another minute or two.
And that's such a good, by the way, anybody listening, don't F with people when they have an injury. Just let the professionals do that.
If it's a knife, if it's a stick, if it's a foreign thing, leave it in there. Don't remove it. Right. Let the professionals remove it.
It's such a wild, because your first thought is, take it out. No, don't.
He would have, the doctor said he would have died within 30 seconds if we would have taken it out. He would have died immediately. And they still don't know how he survived. And so we're driving back to the hospital. Our new van's covered in Tyler. Or that's not a nice way to say that. But covered in blood. And so we get to the hospital. He's in the emergency room. He's about to go into get operated on. And he goes, "Are you guys still going to Vegas?" And normally you would, reassure. But I wanted to make him laugh because it was a very stressful situation. I didn't know what else to do. I was like, yeah, our old bassist Dan, actually, he's outside. We're gonna roll. We're just gonna replace you because you can't play bass. And he's like, you son of a bitch. And I'm like, yeah, got him. But no, he walked out in 3 days.
That's crazy.
Walked out 3 days later. He's on blood thinners and stuff now, but
surely you guys have like post-traumatic stress from that. Like that's got to be scarring on so many levels.
Yeah, and it comes up in weird ways of like our last album we made was called Birdwatching because one of the ways we dealt with trauma was me and my guitarist Matt, we would just sit outside and watch birds and just relax. And it was like a meditation and it was therapy for us. And by doing that, we were able to really figure out and work some stuff out. But I mean, we'll still be driving on tour now. And if we swerve like twice, I feel my heart rate just start to, and, everybody's looking down the middle of the aisle going, oh, is this it? Like, are we about to die again? And the funny thing is, so we have this manager, Joe Giordano. He is the greatest of all time. Like he's like an executive vice president for Oakview Arena Groups, the people who own like Madison Square Garden and Wimbledon and like all that kind of stuff. We're like his hobby. He does it for fun because he likes the band. Yeah. But we like to prank him when we're on tour. Like we'll put him in a group chat and pretend the van's stolen, little things like that, just to see how he'll react. Because, it's funny. Yeah. And so when I call him right after we had stopped and Tyler's bleeding out, we're waiting for the ambulances. I call him and I say, Joe, listen to me. We were just in an accident because Gil and Bree were going to fly out to Vegas and join us. They weren't with us. And so I was like, Joe, I need you to call Bree and Gil. We were just in an accident. I think Tyler was shot. He might be dead. Like, I'm freaking out, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, Joe, I swear to God, you have to tell me right now, are you messing with me? If you're messing with me, you have to tell me. Then I go, Joe, I'm so sorry. Joe, I'm so sorry that I, chose to mess with you in the past. This is real. Tyler might be dead. But.
Did you figure out where the chain link came from?
No.
That's great. Like a chain link fell out of the sky and like.
It could have been like on the ground and then someone ran over it just so, or it could have been like on the back of a semi, like a load-bearing chain that one link snapped and shot just right at the right angle at the right time.
That's what would give me anxiety. It's just like any little object.
Yeah, so many bands hit us up all the time. They're like, you're the band that almost died. Like, you just unlocked a new fear for everyone who does this for a living. And I'm like, yeah, you could just die at any second.
You guys need to talk to Final Destination people because that is what that was the plot of that movie was like obscure weird deaths, and that you guys have a story that could have been that.
Yeah. So no, it was traumatic. It was stressful. It was all these different things, but it also was kind of a moment of change where I slowed down and was able to really consider what it would be like just for it all just to be gone like that. Am I leaving my life and my legacy in such a place where that if I died tomorrow, my son would be proud of me?
So we've talked about that incident, right? So I'm in Wisconsin and back in like, I don't know, this must have been like maybe 2017, 2018, maybe earlier. And I think it might have been Jordan Hill text JC and I and go, dude, Duffy was in the news. I'm like, what? Why? And he goes, he saved someone from getting attacked by a knife. I'm like, what? And they were like, yeah, apparently someone like got stabbed and Duffy saved them. And sure enough, you're on the news talking about how you saved a dude who was bleeding out.
He got shot. But,
Can you talk about that? Because that's crazy.
So I'm selling appliances. It's 2018, winter 2018. Selling appliances right there at 71st and 169 in Tulsa. Appliance Solutions was the name of the place. It's now called Birdie Bay from our Tulsa listeners. And I'm standing at the door and you see all this commotion going on in the street. And there's a car that kind of like pulled in, not really into the parking lot, but like kind of adjacent to the parking lot and has stopped. and there's a bunch of onlookers looking out at this car, and the door opens, and this kid like falls out of the passenger seat. And so nobody's doing anything, so I just like leave my conversation and run out there. And, I get out there, and there's this kid, and he's grabbing his leg, and he goes, I've been shot. Oh my God, I think and it's like right in the thigh, right by one of those big old arteries. And so I don't know, I'd have some Army training in first aid and as Eagle Scout, all that kind of jazz. So it's funny that you have these skills, and they really do activate like a Born Identity type situation where like even in the van, like with Tyler, like we just went into action. No one was nervous. It was just like, all right, what do we have to do next?
You think that was your military stuff that helped with that?
I think that there's a level of being able to be calm under pressure. Even I didn't deploy or anything like that, but I mean, you get the same training as everybody does.
You were a Boy Scout too, though, right?
Yeah, Eagle Scout.
I think both those had to have helped.
Yeah, and so I see that he's bleeding, and I just threw together a tourniquet with some stuff that was laying around, and just kind of talked to him about movies, and kept him calm until the ambulances came, and he was fine, and yeah. So
that's crazy.
Just kind of ran. I just right place, right time. I was just glad I could help.
It is really. I mean, you've lived a crazy life, Joey Duffy. Like, it's insane. So let me ask you. We like to obviously, this has been awesome, great stories. We can't wait to just the masses to hear this. But what's Cliffdiver have going on right now? What can you promote? Is there anything that you want to promote? Anything you want to point back to? Like what's going on?
Hey, before we do that.
Oh, okay.
Before we get to the conclusion, you do your plugs, okay? We kind of started a thing with the last musician we had on here, and we did an overrated, underrated, and that was pretty fun. This time though, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do this or that. All right.
Okay.
So you're going to tell me which of the two that you prefer. All right.
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
This or that with Joseph Duffy. Ice cream or cookies?
Ice cream cookie sandwiches.
Okay.
All right. He's
this or that, but now you just this and that.
Thing.
This and that. How about that?
Guac or queso?
Queso. If I had to choose, which I guess I do. That's the game. This or that.
Text or phone calls?
Text, please.
Pants or shorts?
Probably pants. I'm a big sweatpants guy. Like,
ashamed of your gams?
Yeah, I'm a pants.
All right. Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad?
Oh. Now, if we're considering the entirety of the series,
entirety, yeah,
everything,
then Breaking Bad wins. If we're not including season 8 or whatever of Game of Thrones, I don't know, maybe Thrones, because the season finale of season 7 or whatever, where they blow up the High Septon and all that kind of stuff, that's like peak television. That's some of the best television. Battle of the Bastards is like I'll take that over Ozymandias any day of the week, as far as best of the best episodes.
So Game of Thrones is your answer?
Yeah, I think so. I think I have to.
Okay, sitting or standing to pee?
I mean, standing.
JC says he never sits to pee. Sometimes, when I'm tired, I like to sit in my own home.
I'm a gambler, man. Let the cards fall as they may.
I got yelled at earlier today about peeing on the seat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to get yelled at for peeing on the seat, but that's the price you pay for freedom. You understand me?
That's right. Freedom isn't free.
Freedom isn't free.
Shakespeare like me.
Okay, we got a couple more. Burt Reynolds or Tom Selleck?
That's a tough one.
Mm-hmm. I gave you a really Sophie Chocho there.
Tom Selleck from the movie In and Out with Kevin Kline, where he's the game. Like, for some reason, that's one of my favorite movies, and Tom Selleck is incredible in that movie, playing against his typecasting and being really a confident, gay reporter. I thought it was really cool, like that kind of masculinity could also have that kind of gentleness, which we didn't have a lot of in the 90s.
Selleck is great. I love Selleck.
Tom Selleck is great.
Okay, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers or Tailspin?
You son of a gun.
Yeah. Again, another one.
DuckTales.
Oh,
DuckTales.
that's a really good matchup right there.
Tailspin is a great. I love Tailspin though. It has a special place in my heart.
I can't decide honestly between any of those the big ones. You know, Tailspin, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck is a good one too.
They're all A tier gold.
Mm-hmm.
Even the new DuckTales is also really awesome.
Haven't
with David
seen
Tennant. Oh, it's so
Very
funny.
good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Great
New
show
DuckTales
to
is
watch
excellent.
with a kid. It's very funny, but it's also like I watch it by myself. And it's very funny.
Interesting. Okay, yawning or burping? What brings you more pleasure?
I think on the regular yawns do, but every once in a while you get that burp that just like clears out everything that's wrong with you. Like that good like 3-second burp where someone gets mad at you afterwards, but you're just like, you just chugged a Pepsi. And then you get that one like really good burp and you're like, yeah.
Two more. Shania Twain or Reba McEntire?
Shania.
Last one, Nickelodeon or Disney Channel?
I mean, we're talking 90s.
Yes.
I mean, I think...
Don't forget,
I
Disney
think
Channel had the original movies, too. They
I know,
brought a whole
that's what
other
I was
game.
about to say. That's what I was about to say. If I had to take into consideration, Brink, When Alley Cats Strike, Johnny Tsunami,
Yeah.
like it's hard for me to vote for Nickelodeon knowing that I'd be voting over like Halloween Town. But like I don't know. Nickelodeon had the bangers. Hey Arnold.
We talked about this not that long ago. Halloween Town, much longer movie than I remember it being.
Yeah.
It's like 45
it goes
minutes
on.
longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love you, buddy. No, plug your stuff. Let's do some plugs. What we got coming up?
We're playing Warped Tour, we're playing Long Beach, and we're playing the DC dates. We're playing with so many insane bands, and it's like it doesn't even make sense at times. I see our name on the posters, and it's just like 100 other bands that are massive, and it's a great feeling. And we just got offered another massive festival that I can't announce, but you'll see it soon, so come to that. And Excellency Fest in Grand Rapids, Michigan, August 9th with Arm's Length and Ben Quad. That's going to be a show you don't want to miss. I probably will be there.
I hope so.
I do too.
Where can people listen to you guys?
We're on Spotify, Cliffdiver, one word. You can find all of our socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, because I refuse to call it X. I never will. That's stupid. It's so stupid. We're Cliffdiver okay, as we like to say at the shows. We're Cliffdiver okay because we're from Oklahoma, not because we're mid.
Slide in his DMs.
Don't
Do it.
Slide in him.
don't slide into my DMs.
Tell them naughty jokes.
I mean, maybe, but don't do it. No, don't do it. It's been a pleasure. Like, I love that you all are doing this. I love both of you. Will, it's been way too long.
Way too long.
Since I've seen you. We got to get together sometime.
Absolutely.
JC, I'm going to punch you in the face next time I see you. Just because I hate Philadelphia, and it's not your fault. No, that's not true. I actually love Philadelphia. I just hate the Eagles.
I do too. It makes you feel any better. I do too. And I live here.
And now it's everywhere all the time. That's all
awful.
you're ever going to hear about.
That's awful. It's terrible.
It's gross. But go get yourself a Joe steak. They're the best in the city.
So good. So good. I love the steak. Only can eat them once every quarter. I can do it for my arteries and for my child to be able to see me.
I say
in
that
the
with
next couple
Dallas.
years.
We get to go to Steak Stuffers once a month and never more than that. And even then, that's too much.
More like artery stuffers, am I right?
You learned that from the improv. Nah, I love you both. Thanks for having me on. This has been a pleasure.
Of course. This is a pleasure, Joey. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Hope to see you both soon.
Good to see you, buddy.
Thanks.